Hey everyone, and welcome! If you've ever worked with files in Python, you know it's incredibly powerful. But telling Python exactly what you want to do with that file, that can be a little tricky. So today, we're going to demystify one of the most crucial pieces of that puzzle, file modes. Let's jump right in.
So picture this. You're ready to code. You've got data you need to read, or maybe some results you have to save. You know the file name, but how do you actually communicate your intention to Python? Are you just kind of peeking at the data? Are you trying to wipe the slate clean and start over? Or are you just adding a quick note to the end? This, right here, is the fundamental question that file modes are built to answer.
And the secret to all this is Python's built-in open function. Super simple. It takes two main arguments. First, the file's name, of course, and second, this little short string called the mode. And as we're about to see, that tiny string is everything. It's the core instruction that tells Python exactly how you plan to interact with that file.
So here's the game plan for today. We're going to cover the 4 big actions: reading, writing, adding to files, and doing it all safely. Then we'll wrap everything up with a simple cheat sheet that you can take with you. Sound good? Let's get started.
First up, we've got the thing you'll probably do most often, just reading a file. This is all about getting information that's already there, without any risk of accidentally changing it. Think of this as your look, don't touch tool. The best way to think about the read mode, or just R, is to imagine someone handing you a final printed report, right? You can read every single word, you can analyze the charts, you can learn everything from it. But you can't just whip out a pen and start scribbling in the margins. It's a read-only deal.
Okay, so let's break this down. The basic R mode is your go-to for plain text. Simple enough. Then you've got RB. That B stands for binary. That's what you'll use for things like images or audio files. And then there's R+, which is a combo pack that lets you read and write. But here's the big gotcha, the thing you have to remember. For any of these read modes, the file has to exist already. If Python can't find it, it's going to throw an error.
All right, next up is writing to files, and this is where we need to be a little bit careful, because with great power, well, you know how it goes. Let's call this the blank slate tool. Now, the W mode for writing is incredibly useful, but it can also be a little dangerous. I want you to let this sink in. The moment you open an existing file using W mode, Python basically takes an eraser to the entire thing. Everything that was there before, it's gone. Poof. And you're starting with a totally blank page, whether you meant to or not. You can see the pattern here pretty clearly. W will create a file if it's not there, but, and I really can't say this enough, it will completely nuke the contents of a file that is there. WB is the exact same story, just for binary data. And W+. This one's a bit of a weird one. It overwrites the file first and then lets you read from that new empty file. So yeah, you've got to be really careful with these.
So, if W is this big, scary, overwrite everything button, what's the safe alternative? Well, that's where the append modes come in. This is your tool for when you just want to add some new info without destroying everything that came before it.
You know, I absolutely love this analogy. Using the append mode, or A, is exactly like grabbing a Post-it note and sticking it to the bottom of a long document. You're adding something new, right? But the original document is still there, perfectly intact, totally untouched. It's completely non-destructive.
The append modes are just friendlier. As you can see for A, Python just adds whatever you give it to the very end of the file. And check this out. If the file doesn't even exist, A just creates it for you. No fuss, no errors. AB does the same for binary data, and A+ lets you both append new stuff and read what's already in there.
Okay, let's put these two head to head, because this is probably the single most important distinction to burn into your brain. W on the left is a total reset button. It erases everything. A on the right is a continuation. It keeps everything and just adds to the end. Seriously, understanding this difference is key. Always know which one you need before you hit run.
But what if your goal is super simple? What if you just want to create a brand new file and you want to be absolutely 100% sure you don't accidentally overwrite something important that's already there? Well, for that exact scenario, Python gives us a special, super safe tool. This is the check first mode. Imagine you need to make a new folder in a filing cabinet. What's the very first thing you do? You check to make sure a folder with that exact name doesn't already exist, right? That's precisely what the X mode does for you in your code. It's designed from the ground up to prevent accidents. So this is X for exclusive creation. Its one and only job is to create a new file. If a file with that name already exists, it doesn't touch it, it doesn't overwrite it. Instead, it just raises an error and stops. This is what we call failing safely. And trust me, in programming, that's often exactly what you want. The XB and X Plus versions just follow that same safe pattern.
Okay, so we've seen B and plus pop up a few times now. Let's just quickly nail down what they do. B is easy. Just tack it onto your mode whenever you're dealing with anything that isn't plain text. So images, audio clips, that kind of stuff. The plus sign is like a power-up. It just adds the opposite capability. So if you're in a read mode like R plus also lets you write. If you're in a write mode like W plus also lets you read. Simple as that.
Phew, okay, we've covered a lot of ground. So now let's boil all of this down into a simple, memorable cheat sheet. This is the part you'll want to screenshot in your brain.
Here they are, the 4 golden rules. First, R for read. The file has to be there, no exceptions. Second, W for write. This is your warning sign. This will overwrite your file. Third, A for append. This safely adds your data to the very end. And finally, X for exclusive create, the absolute safest way to make a brand new file without causing any accidents. If you can master these 4, you've mastered the basics of file handling.
And that's it. Just like that, you're now equipped with the know-how to read, write, append, and safely create any file you need to in Python. These modes are no longer some weird mystery. They're a powerful set of tools that you have at your command. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with them?